Hello.
Hi, Rita.
Hi. How are you?
Good. I'm not going to bother you today. I only have one big question for you later. I'll text you. I'm having problems transferring the information. He resigned his
Good.
COVID form,
Good.
but because he thought he sent it, but he couldn't, I guess he deleted it. So
Oh.
now I've sent him another one. So I just
Okay.
want to go over the checklist to make sure that I check off everything correctly.
Okay.
Because he signed it, but I got to check it off and sign it myself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay. No
So
problem.
later I'll just text you and I just make sure I take a picture of it so you can see.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Perfect. Hi, Amanda.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I
to
haven't
see
seen
you.
you. Oh my gosh. For those of you that don't know Amanda, she is one of our top producing agents in our Middletown office. I coached Amanda for the better part of 2 years in my productivity coaching program. So she started as a newly licensed agent with the Middletown office and very quickly grew a pretty significant book of business for herself. So she's a wealth of knowledge and agreed to join me for this class today. So thank you.
I could use the practice, so I'm excited.
Right. So she's going to give me a hard time and yeah, she's going to get back at me for all of the accountability sessions from when I would coach her and say, what were your numbers this week? And how many people did you call? All right, so I don't want to delay because I know we are a couple minutes wrapping up from the team meetings to get onto this link. So I do want to get started. So what we're going to do today is we are going to role play a listing presentation, okay, from start to finish, starting from the time that I do a consultation on the phone with a seller, okay? So give me 1 second. I just have to send the link to one agent who's trying to get in. I don't know who this is. Okay, give me 1 second. Sorry, guys. This one, this one, this one. Okay. You would think I've been on Zoom since March that I would know how to use this a little more effectively, but alas, I do not. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I think that this is a document that many of you have probably seen before. In a general sense, this is the document that I keep in front of me, and I will send this document out to all of you after this class. So anytime I'm talking to, I have one for a buyer too that I'll include in my email. Anytime I'm talking to a buyer or seller on the phone, I have a stack of these usually nearby so that I make sure that I ask all of the important questions that I need to know in order to help me prepare for the listing appointment. So we're going to go into the role play where first I'm going to talk to Amanda about her house on the phone, and then we're going to role play the actual listing appointment. Okay. And then we'll talk about any questions. Okay. So ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, is this Amanda Brown?
This is her.
Hi, Amanda. This is Rita Gildersleeve, Keller Williams Realty, Hudson Valley North. How are you today?
Oh, I'm good, Rita. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. So I'm reaching out because our mutual friend, Karen, gave me your contact information, and she said that you were looking for a real estate agent to potentially list your home for sale. Is that right?
Yeah, Karen and I were talking the other day over lunch. That is right. We're thinking about selling, but we're also thinking about maybe refinancing. So we're just really not sure yet.
That makes sense. So you're thinking about selling or refinancing based on maybe what the results of our conversation could be, whatever the best path might be for you.
Sure.
That's excellent. Okay. And I'm sorry, can you tell me the address of your house really quickly?
It's 48 Derby Road, and that's Middletown, New York.
Okay. That's great. And so what was leading you to think that maybe refinancing was the right option for you?
Well, my cousin's wife her friend is a lender and they said that the rates are really good right now. And so we were thinking about selling. My husband just took a job down in Georgia.
Oh,
Yeah, so very exciting. He's already down there, and we were thinking if it made sense to refinance, maybe rent the house here before we bought down there. We're really not sure.
I see. Okay, so it sounds like the two options would essentially be list the house, sell, capitalize on the market right now, and then be able to take that money down, move your family down to Georgia, or transition the property into a rental property, correct? Refinance.
Yep.
And refinance most likely to an investment style loan then, if you're not using it as your primary residence. That would be correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of the rental, the other thing, and we'll go over this in more in depth when we meet, but the other thing that you want to keep in mind is if you're relocating out of state, more than likely we'll also have to talk about what it would look like to have a property manager involved to help you manage the investment property. So I'm just going to make a note to make sure that we go over all of that. So that sounds good. Okay. And so in Georgia, that's very exciting. So he took a new job and you said he's already down there.
Yeah.
So did you buy a home down in Georgia?
No, he's actually staying with a friend that also took a job down there. They're renting a place together for now while we figure things out. So
Excellent. So is the ultimate goal to sell and then if you were to sell, to use the proceeds to buy something in Georgia?
yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. And especially this time of year. I mean, I heard that we're supposed to have a terrible winter. So I'm sure getting to Georgia as soon as possible could be a really nice thing. You'll be calling me from from a sunny 70 degrees day, and I'll be sitting here in a snowstorm probably.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so sick of the winter.
Yeah, I totally understand. Okay, so if we were thinking about selling your home, do you currently have a mortgage on your property?
We have a small mortgage. So I
Okay,
think
no
we have,
problem.
like 30,000 or something like that.
Okay, perfect. And have you talked to a mortgage broker about what your pre-qualification might look like in Georgia in terms of your purchasing power based on your husband's new job?
No, we have no clue.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just
Yeah.
going to make a note that that's something too that I will make sure that I can help you with. I don't know if Karen mentioned this, but I work at Keller Williams Realty, like I mentioned at the beginning of the call. We're actually the largest real estate franchise in the country. We have over 180,000 agents with us. So we have a big presence down in Georgia, and I'm very confident that I would be able to help you connect with a local realtor down there that could help you navigate that home buying process and also help you locate some local lenders, home inspectors, attorneys, if they use attorneys. I'm not sure if they do or not down there. So I would make sure that you could be covered from all ends in that regard.
Oh, that sounds good. We have no clue where to get started there. So that sounds good to me.
Right. How would you, right? You wouldn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one of the services that I offer really for my clients that are relocating to other areas is I vet the agent wherever they're going. I make sure that the agent that they're getting is a top-notch agent. And then it helps me be able to coordinate the process to make sure that it all goes smoothly. But again, we'll talk about that a little bit more once we meet in person.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about your house.
Oh, I just love this house so much. Where do I start? It's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath ranch, but it's got this really great office space. So it can really be like a 3-bedroom if they needed, but I really like it for like an office space. I can close it off from the rest of the house. It's a semi-open concept. We've got 12-inch plank floors, hardwood floors throughout. We haven't really done too many updates. We've painted and, we keep it clean and decluttered for the most part. And we have a great yard.
Oh, okay. And what do you love about the yard?
It's private. It gives us enough room for the garden. And when the kids were younger, it was great for them to play out back, and the neighbors they're okay too. So.
Oh, that's good. That's great. So,
Yeah.
what else is it would be important for me to know about your house before I sit down with you?
I don't really know. I mean, we keep it pretty nice. I guess you're gonna have to tell me. I'm not really sure.
Okay, that's no problem. That's great. And how long have you lived there?
Oh, we've lived here for about 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And if I could pick this house up and move it down south, I would do that because I just love this house so much.
I understand. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that I'll get a good sense, and we'll of course be able to send the listing down to your agent down in Georgia to see if she can find you as close of a match as possible to make that all
Okay.
happen. Okay,
That
great.
sounds good.
Excellent. And so I know that you mentioned that your husband is already in Georgia. So what would you say the timeline would be in order to get your house on the market and ultimately get down to Georgia to join him?
Well, our son is finishing up his senior year in high school. So ideally, we want him to finish the year here.
Okay.
So, we wanted to line up with that.
Okay. And so when does the year ends when? In June?
Yeah, in June.
Okay. Is he remote right now or are they in person?
They are remote right now.
Okay. But they might go back in
Mhm.
person, right?
Yeah. Who knows?
Okay. So, all right. So time out. We'll just pause for a second. So if somebody says something like that, like I want my husband, we want to wait for the school year to end. It's not an uncommon thing that you'll hear. More than likely, it might not make sense for me to set a listing appointment right then with that person because they're really not in a position to list their home, especially in this market. So if they need to be like closed in June, that would mean that we would probably want to list their house around March, I would say. That way you list the house in March, you have April and May to get through the contract process. Depending on what you're seeing in the market, you might list in February if you think the house might sit for a couple of weeks before selling. So if that's the case, then what I would probably do at that point is say, okay, so if we were to sell your house before June, then what would you, or if I was able to find a buyer for your house before June, would you be able to sell, or would you be looking for an extended closing date out to June? And if the answer is no, I really don't want to close on the house until June. Okay, no problem. That's no problem. So here's what I think is our best bet. I would love to follow up with you. What we'll probably want to aim to do then is get your house on the market in February or March, which means I can come out now and meet with you still. But I just want to set that expectation that typically what we're seeing is houses are selling in the first couple of weeks on the market. Most buyers are not going to wait until next June to close on the house, right? So if I list your house now, that means that you're probably moving in February or March at the early, around that time frame. If that's not a time frame that works for you, then I can certainly come over and still sit with you, introduce myself, but I'll also or I can also follow up with you January 1 or February 1 or whatever the date is, so that at that point we can set a firm listing appointment. Okay. Then from whatever day they say they say, okay, that's fine. So just follow up with me February 1st and we'll get together then. You always want to cut whatever time they've told you in half, right? And I'm sure Amanda can agree with this. People's timelines are always off. Like they kind of guesstimate, but then things change over time. And so you want to make sure that you catch them before they are like really urgent to list the house, because once they get that urgency, they might not remember to call you, or they might see somebody else's advertising. There's a million ways that they could fall into to the trap of another real estate agent. Would you agree, Amanda?
Absolutely. Well, you could miss them by a week or 2 weeks because once they get their mind set on this is what we're doing and now we're going to do it, if you're not readily available right there or you're not top of mind, you're going to be forgotten.
Right.
Yep.
I had, this happened to me last summer, actually. I met with somebody in February and they were like, okay, we don't want to list the house until September because they were building a house in North Carolina. We thought their house was going to sell rather quickly. They wanted to be moved by like January. So I said to them, okay, I'm going to follow up with you September 1st it was. So what I did, this is what I would always do and what I would recommend doing. If they say September 1st, cut that in half and text them and text or call them. And it's not, hey, can you speed up your timeline? It is, hey, I'm just touching base to make sure that we're still on track to talk September 1st. So that they're hearing from you, because a lot of times what you'll hear is, oh, thank God you called. No, we actually want to get the house on the market in a couple of weeks. Or we're thinking about, yeah, we're still on track for September. Let me ask you, we were going to do these upgrades. Is that a good idea? So, so it's always good to call and check in. So this house, I was there in January, February, I told them I would come back. I would contact them September 1 to talk about listing the house. I contacted them August 1st. I called and left a message for the guy. He called me back and he said, Rita, this is the craziest thing. We were sitting with another real estate agent at our kitchen table when you called. Not that we were going to use that person, but one of our friends used this person and was raving about them. So we wanted to meet them, even though we liked you, but we were going to meet this other person. He was like, this lady was trying to close us and sell us on listing the house with her. And the only reason why we didn't, honestly, is because your phone call came in at that moment. And we were like, no, this is a sign that we need to talk to Rita more. And I ended up getting that listing. And it was very random. It's not always going to shake out that way. But if I waited until September 1st, the odds are 2 weeks before that, the house would have hit the market. And I would have been sitting there kicking myself saying, geez, I thought that they didn't even want to talk to me till September 1st. And lo and behold, somebody else got them to list a little bit earlier. So all of that to say, these are the types of questions that you want to ask when you're on the phone with the person to set them up and set the expectations from the start. So any questions on this initial, let me go back. So Amanda, just hypothetically say you want to list your house as soon as possible for sake of the role play. Okay. So she wants to list her house as soon as possible. That way, essentially what I would do is move forward and set the listing appointment for her. So any questions about this initial consultation that we can answer?
I have some questions.
Great.
Okay, so this consultation that you're talking about is somebody who may have recommended you, or you may have recommended, or they have maybe called the office, but how would you approach it if, let's say you just met somebody and, like, I go to a lot of open house, garage sales rather. And I always ask people if they're selling, and that's where I've met a few people who seem to be interested in selling their house. So I don't know if this is really the right approach right away. I have two people that I'm working on right now. One, they told me that their mother died and they're thinking about selling the house, but they're not ready to do it immediately because their mother just died. It was the mother's house. And then another one, they were thinking about downsizing, and I met them at a garage sale. They hadn't contacted any realtors yet, both of these. How would I take that approach on someone like that?
Sure. So I think that you still want to get the same questions answered, but the top of the conversation might look different, where you might just say to them, were you able to get their contact information when you met them at the yard sales?
Yeah, both of them, I met I met them and I said, well, let me tell you what I think a buyer might pay for your house. And I went and I gave them some information of what I thought a buyer might pay. And that's sort of where I am. I want to go back and.
Okay. So
is that not the best approach?
So I would reserve that for a formal listing consultation, right? That's one of like the carrots you can dangle to get people to agree to meet formally with you. Because once you tell them the price, regardless of whether or not they agree, they've gotten the information that they really want. And then if they're really not in a position to list with you, now they can take that information and depending on their personality type, some people start to overanalyze things. Some people will then use that against other realtors as they start to interview around. So probably what I would recommend to do would be when you're talking to them at the yard sale, you might say, hey, so I sell, I'm a local real estate realtor here in the area. Would it be of value to you if I prepared a quick, what we call a CMA, which is a comparative market analysis that would show you where your house, this house would currently place itself in the current market. Do you think that that would be helpful as you decide, as you continue to work through the process of the estate?
Well, that's what I did, but I did an RPR. I didn't really do an actual CMA for either of them.
Okay, so that's okay. Either one is fine. So, so you set the appointment though, right? Like, so essentially then what you're doing is, so what I would do after that is I would say, okay, great. Can I stop back over on Thursday at 3 or Tuesday at 2 to present that to you?
Okay, so that's, okay. So I sent it by email.
Yeah, so I would use that as the get in to get the appointment set.
Okay.
So if they've agreed to get that from you, now you have an in, right? Now just pivot, transition that to, okay, do you mind if I stop by for, 30 minutes to take a look? It also, you can also decide, depending on if you got like a full tour of the house at the yard sale.
I haven't either of them. Yeah.
So you might say at the yard sale too, like, do you have 30 minutes this week where I could stop by, take a tour of the house, give you some ideas about how it might fit in the market, and talk to you a little bit about other, homes that I've sold in the area and what the market's doing as a whole. This is the ultimate, this is the what I'll say about these conversations. They can go in many different ways. The key to all of it is to not objection handle on the phone or to give them all of the information that you have on the phone. The only goal of this conversation is to get enough information and set an appointment. Okay. Right? So anytime you're lead generating, whether it's a buyer consultation, a seller consultation, the idea is not that you're answering questions about your commission or their home price or what you do to market homes for sale or any of that. They might start asking you those questions. The easiest answer is, that's a great question. That's why we really need to meet in person. So and then that leads you right into a close. So would Tuesday at 2 or Thursday at 3 work better for you so I can stop by, right?
Okay. I mean, I have 3 potential sellers from going to garage sales. So
good job, Diana. That's great.
It's a good thing to do.
Good idea. Yeah.
It's a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. Yep, absolutely. Good job. Yeah.
So now I'm really confused with the law.
Okay.
Because it's saying we're not allowed to call.
Right.
But yet we're calling only if they know that we're calling, or that we've been referred, or if they call us.
Giving their information willingly.
Yeah. I mean,
no cold calling.
You can't cold call. You can't cold call, meaning like in this example, which is why I laid it up this way, because Amanda's not an expired or a for sale by owner or like a circle prospect. If you can call people that have essentially given you permission to call. So like if you get a lead, say you get a lead from Facebook, somebody messages you or somebody comes in, you're running an ad through Command for home values, right? And a seller submits their information to you, so you get it. That's not a cold call, right? They've like opted in to receive. Same thing with referrals. If somebody said like, if somebody calls you and says, hey, I have this friend that's thinking of buying or selling, I told them about you. Can you give them a call? That's absolutely okay to do.
Even though they may not have talked to the person and said, listen, I have a neighbor who's willing to sell, I would like you to contact them, but then we wouldn't be able to contact. Our thing would be, well, please let them know that we're going to be calling them then, or have them call me, right?
Yeah. Usually I would say 9 times out of 10, the conversation's already had with that person before they call you to refer you the business.
I've had the person call me, said, hey, here's my contact information, here's my email. Like, they can definitely reach out.
Play it safe. Yeah.
In terms of this environment. Yeah. But
yeah.
Speaking of which, let's say you do have like an opt-in, they don't pick up the phone. What's your go-to, or Amanda, what's your like message to get that receiving call or to get this ball rolling? So voicemail, or where do you go?
So in a general sense, you want to follow up with people like they say like 8 times in the first 10 days, which I
Wow.
know probably sounds aggressive and
Jeez, that's a
scary.
lot.
I get it,
They
but
would lose me. I hate those people.
Yep.
But
this is the
Tell
thing
I have to
though.
be that person. I can't.
This is the thing. This is the thing about it. The people that are really motivated, they'll respond.
Yeah.
Because they really have a need. Like they need to get their house on the market, right? Like or they need to buy something right away. Sometimes there's that. This second thing is there's some weird psychological thing where people have to see things at least 3 times before they think that they're legitimate. So sometimes just the third or fourth time they're like, this must be an actual real estate agent. Like, or okay, this is somebody that I should respond to. There are some smart plans that you can pull from the library. Go ahead, Amanda. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. I have a smart plan set up that if I'm getting a referral lead and I can put it into my command after I've made the phone call, it's going to then within a day send them a text message. It's going to send them an email with home buyer information. It's going to remind me to give them a call again. And then another layer on top of that is I search them on Facebook. If they do have a Facebook, now they can see me and that I'm a real person and they can see my personal life. So just trying to get in front of them as many ways as I can.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, you do have to follow up with people because you have to think this is our full-time job. Most people's full-time job is not to buy or sell real estate, right? So they're like at their jobs 9 to 5, and it might not necessarily be that they don't want to talk to you. It's just that people are busy, and sometimes you catch them when they have a couple minutes and they're like, oh, thanks. Like, thank you. I did need to talk to somebody, right? There's a number, if you're in the Command Your Conversion Facebook group, that is a great Facebook group that's run by Nick Baldwin. And in there, if you can go into the files section, he's uploaded smart plans that are personable, not like super salesy, just kind of like, hey, I want to make sure I'm giving you the information that you requested.
I was going to ask, what smart plan, Amanda, do you put them on? Because I'm fairly new and I need to get people on smart plans, and it's a little bit daunting for me, this whole smart plan thing.
So I created my own very basic 8x8 just for that first lead that comes in that I haven't made contact with. Because like Rita said, you have to contact them 8 times normally to be able to get them to respond. So like she said, that there's ones already made up. Before there was ones made up, I created my own, and I like to use my own words and how I speak. I have a home buyer or home seller packet that I've created with references and things like that I have material to pass off with my picture on it. And so I think who helps Rita with the technology and the smart plan stuff? Who can we? Eileen, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure you can set an appointment.
I need to do that. I mean, I've been just sending my own emails out. I'm reaching out on my own.
Yeah.
Diana, I'm sorry, Rita.
Go ahead,
I'm a new agent too. So my biggest thing, the thing that helped me the most was I went through Command and I went through all of the smart plans. I just got disconnected.
No, you didn't. I just stopped the share.
Oh, okay. But I went through all of the different smart plans and I read through them. And there's a lot of them that you may not like. And there's a lot of them that, they put out like 5 or 6 different emails to you.
Yeah, I'm in the process of weeding through them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just edited them and just put in my own words and stuff. But I used that as a format for myself. So now I know that everybody that's on my contact list, and I've got 30 now, they all are on different things. But as soon as they go on to my smart plan, the first smart plan I send them is introducing them to my mobile app. That's the first thing that goes out.
Okay, because I've got like 100 something people in my contacts and nobody's on a smart plan.
Oh.
Yeah, you want to, the key honestly to getting results and having leads come in is the follow-up. Because the odds of getting one, like a lead in, calling them and having them respond is, I don't know, 2 out of 20 maybe you'll actually have a conversation with. But that doesn't mean that like 10 of them are not going to buy or sell something in the next year. so they're at some process in the pipeline, right? They're on some trajectory of thinking about buying or selling. The key then becomes who is top of mind for them when all of a sudden they need to make a decision right then. So in that way, you know, if you follow up with them a lot in the first like 10 days, then after that, you might follow up with them once or twice a month. You know, you can put, if they're a seller lead coming in, the neighborhood nurture smart plan can be a very easy, effective way, because all it's doing is sending them snapshots out about what's happening in their neighborhood. If they're a buyer lead that comes in and they're coming in on a listing, or if you don't have a listing, you can run Facebook ads for, like, you know, houses in New Paltz that are 200 to 300,000. If they come in on that whatever landing page they come in on, set them up on an auto search in Command for similar type of homes, and have the emails go out to them with that information. And just, you don't have to do anything except for set it up. And then it'll automate forever until they respond or unsubscribe, right?
I need that.
People are going to unsubscribe from your list. Don't take it personally. Hey, you want people unsubscribing from your list. That means you have a good volume of people coming in. Yeah. All right. Any other questions around the consultation, like having a quick phone consultation? Again, the ultimate goal of that is not to objection handle, not to get agreement that they're going to list with you or anything like that. It is really just to set an in-person listing appointment with them, or if we get shut back down, like a Zoom listing appointment essentially with them. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, we're doing good so far. All right,
Yes.
so fast.
I have a
sorry,
question.
Karen. Okay.
So what do you do if a buyer doesn't want to sign their exclusive agreement?
At the buyer consultation?
Yeah.
So I don't want to get too far off topic since we're covering listings today and listing appointments, but I'd be happy to go over with you at like a group coaching or a one-on-one coaching session. You know, the key there is really to ask a lot of questions and to understand what your value is to a buyer, right? So they're not going to want to sign the agreement if they don't understand the value that they're getting in exchange for that. So just like you want to put together a good listing presentation like we're going over today, you also want to have a good buyer consultation, right? And listen, there's a lot of agents out there that will say, I don't do buyer consultations, or I just talk to somebody really quickly. Amanda Brem is the buyer consultation queen. She has done so many buyer consultations. And at first, Amanda, is it okay for me to share that at first you were like, why am I doing these consultations? Like, they just want to see the houses. Can I just show them things? And then what happened? You started doing consultations, and the buyers you started working with were really motivated buyers that were in agreement working with you. Would you agree?
Yes. And through that consultation process, we're doing these clients a service. We're getting to know them. We're making them priority. We're making their wants and needs important. We're understanding that that's all part of our job in transitioning them in a buy or a sell. And so we're building value all throughout. I have my elevator pitch when it comes to getting them to sign the exclusive, more so for the buy side than the list side, which I'm working on. But once you build so much value, they just sign. It really is that simple. Once you have built that relationship so strong and really put them first and made them feel important, it's really no question for them. So.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So two things to keep in mind. Sellers, the main value proposition they're looking from listing agents are that they know the market well and they're able to sell their house fast and for top dollar, right? For most sellers, that's their main priority. For buyers, their main priority is usually that you understand the market so you can help them navigate the market, negotiate a great deal for a house, and then walk them through the contract to close process. So as you're doing these consultations, that's really how you want to structure everything so that you're feeding all of the information back to how you're going to either sell their house fast and for the most money possible, or how on the buyer side, you're going to help them navigate the market to get a good deal, and then walk them through the process from contract to close to make sure that it's a smooth process. Okay, awesome. All right, so now we are, before I share my screen, I'll just before we sit down. Okay, so now we're at the listing appointment. Okay, set the appointment with Amanda. Now it's time. Well, before I do that, let me just talk about between the time the phone call happens and when you actually get to the listing appointment. So when you hang up, right, you have some information on the house. The next thing that you want to do is go right onto the MLS and see if the house has ever been listed before. That way you can kind of get some information. If it has, that is great because you're going to see a whole host of information that the agent has put in about the listing. This can be particularly important if you're a newer agent who's not as confident about like mechanical systems or certain upgrades or different style of things, right? You can find all of that information through the MLS listing so that when you get on the appointment, now all of a sudden you're like the expert because you know that. And it's not because you're an expert and know that, it's because you've done your homework beforehand. So you want to try and find an old listing if you can. That will also give you, if it's a recently expired listing, that will also give you an idea of what the seller is going to want to list their home around, right? Like that's whatever they agreed to. Now you will know somewhat what you're walking into when you get on the listing appointment. The other thing that you could want to look at is Realist, or if you're in Ulster County, you can pull up the Ulster County Information Services, and that will give you sale history, tax history. You can pull up interactive maps to look at the property lines. You can look and see if there's wetlands on the property, you know, if there's easements, things of that nature. So you want to do a little bit of recon on the house and take some notes down, some information. The other thing that you're going to want to do is get together your marketing presentation, and you can use the templated one that's right in Command in the Designs tab. It's very easy. It's pretty much put together for you already. You're going to see that's what I'm going to run through with Amanda once we get started here. And
listing presentation. It's
Yep.
listing present.
Yep, exactly. And there's a buyer consultation one too that you can do for buyers. So you want to do the listing presentation. And then the other thing that you want to do is a CMA, comparative market analysis for their house. This isn't a class about how to do CMAs. We do classes on that. What I will say is that my general rule of thumb is never to put in writing what I think their house is worth, because I've shot myself in the foot before doing that. I've walked in and people's homes have been in a completely different condition than I was anticipating them to be. And I have down in writing that I think their house is worth way more than I think I could ever actually list it for. So sometimes I will do a range if there is like a lot of history. I have a good MLS listing, I might do a range. Usually I don't include any type of pricing, and that way it gives me a little bit of lateral on the appointment to kind of navigate that area with them. Okay, so you want to put all of that together. Obviously, you want to be on time. Typically you walk up to the front door, right? So you walk up to the front door. This is another weird psychological hack. When you knock on the door, take a step backwards. Just step backwards. It's a psychological thing. If you are leaning in when they open the door, it just puts people off, not even consciously, usually subconsciously. So when you ring the doorbell, take a step back. They're going to open the door, right? You'll shake their hand. Thank you so much for having me over. If there's something you can compliment that you noticed walking up, you know, compliment that. Oh, I love your flowers, or whatever. That's such a lovely pond, or what a quiet location, right? There's usually something you can come out with to compliment them on. If there's nothing, you might say, what a beautiful day it is outside, or how about this, right? Like something positive and upbeat to start the conversation off. I usually shake their hands. Obviously it's COVID, so just like, you know, fist bump, whatever, wave, make sure you have your mask on, all of that good stuff. So then what I do, there's really 3 parts to a listing appointment. The first part is you're going to tour around the house with them. The second part is you're going to sit down with them and you're going to go over your marketing stuff. The third part is that you're going to present a CMA to them and go over the value of their house. It's important that you do it in that order, because if you sit down and jump right into a CMA, you're going to get way more objections than if leading up to them, you have built rapport with them through the home tour, and you've gone through your entire marketing strategy with the seller and gotten their agreement that what you're proposing is going to be the best way to, again, sell their house in the quickest amount of time for the most amount of money. Okay. So I'm not going to role play the home tour, but essentially this is what you would want to do. You would want to walk around the house, ask them questions, right, about the home. Pay attention to how they are describing their home, right? So if you took my last listing class, we talked a little bit about different disc profiles and how to talk the language of people depending on how their personality profile works. You can also start to understand people's the tone, the pace that they talk, how they explain things, the way in which they explain things. These are all important notes to take into consideration, because once you sit down with them, you do want to mirror and match some of their tonality and their pacing. That's a great way to get them into relationship with you. So what I mean by that is if you have somebody that is you're like doing the house tour in 5 minutes and they're like da, 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 and just da, 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 over here, you're running around. If you sit down on the kitchen table and are like, okay, let's talk about my marketing strategies, but before that, let me give you a biography of myself. You're gonna drive them nuts, and they're gonna get you out the door as soon as possible, right? And the reverse can be the same. If you're on a tour for 25 minutes and then you sit down and you're like, so I'm going to do an open house, I'm going to do postcards, I'm going to do social media posts, this is what your house is worth, like sign here and list with me. They're going to be like, no, no, this person, I don't jive well with this person. So this is the most important part, is the tour around the house to me. It gives you a chance to build rapport with people, right? The easiest way to build rapport with somebody is by asking a lot of questions. So during the tour, they should be talking more. You should be listening, right? Ask them a lot of questions, compliment them as you can. If there's some of those recon things that you figured out, like that the flooring is a certain style, or they have whatever, crown molding in the house, or something or other that you've seen in the listing presentation, you might mention when you get to the mechanicals, oh, okay, your furnace looks relatively new, like less than 5 years, right? If that's something that you have seen in a prior listing, drop that information in there. You want to take notes as you're walking around and really kind of gauge how the person is responding and interacting with you. All right, so then you're done with that. Now you're gonna sit down at their kitchen table or dining room table. And this is what the listing presentation looks like. This is the one directly from Command. So you see, all I did was went in and put Amanda's name in there. That really is like the extent of the customization for the listing presentation. It's a very, very easy. Okay, so go back into the role play, and this will probably be a truncated version because I want to be mindful of our time. Okay, thank you so much, Amanda, for allowing me to come over, take a look at your beautiful house, and thank you for showing me around a little bit. I really enjoyed everything that you had to tell me about your home. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to quickly tell you a little bit about myself, my company, a little bit about how I get homes in the area sold quickly and for top dollar. And then what I'll move from there is where your home currently sits in the current market. Does that sound okay?
That sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay, so like you probably already know by now, I work with Keller Williams Realty, Hudson Valley North. Our office is here in Kingston. We have about 70 agents working with us that span 3 counties, and all collectively within our 3 offices, we have agents all across the Hudson Valley, over 450 agents actually, that all work together to get our listings sold and work with buyers and sellers collectively. Also, what you might not know about Keller Williams, I don't know if you're familiar with us, but we are the #1 real estate franchise in the country. We're #1 in closed units, closed sales volume, and agent count, which you're probably saying, I don't care, and that means nothing to me, right? I hear that.
Yeah, well, Actually, I see Keller Williams signs everywhere, so I'm not surprised.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always, you can always tell from the red, right? The Keller
Right.
red that we have out everywhere. So really, I think what a lot of sellers are attracted to when they're thinking about listing with a Keller Williams agent is the fact that we do have a broad reach across the country. And because we have so many agents, we have about 180,000 real estate agents across the country, we've created an entire referral system in our back office where we all network with each other and we share listings with each other. And I'm in contact with agents across many of the states where we know buyers and sellers are coming from. I also have a network of associates in New York City. As I know you're probably aware, a lot of the home buyers that we're seeing come up to the area are moving out of New York City, Long Island, sometimes New Jersey, and they're thinking about moving to the Hudson Valley. And so one of the things that I think is very important is to network with the Keller Williams agents down there in order to create relationships with them so that when they have buyers looking for the area, I ultimately get those referrals. And let me ask you, Amanda, when I get those referrals, whose listings do you think I show them to first?
Well, hopefully yours.
Right, exactly, right. Yep. So in the past year, and side note, I would get a lot of agent to agent referrals. So everything I was saying to them was 100% accurate. Don't say this if it's not accurate. But what I would say is in the past year, I have gotten referrals from New York City, Brooklyn, Florida, California, Colorado, and many other areas where we know buyers and sellers are traveling back and forth. And I always start with my listings first. So that's one of the ways that I'm going to be able to get your house maximum exposure in the current market. The other thing then that I will say, and I don't like to be a bulletin, a poster board for myself, but I am one of the top producers in our office. I have been in the top 10% in sales for the past 3 or 4 years. I've been in business for 7 years altogether. I don't know if you've researched me at all beforehand, but if you did, you would come to find that I have all 5-star reviews on Zillow. And that actually, of all the metrics, is the most important to me, because what I pride myself in is really providing you with a good customer service experience from start to finish so that you trust me to get your home sold quickly.
Yes, our friends were bragging about you, so we already know.
Yeah. I love Karen. She's so great. I just talked to her a couple of days ago, actually. I was telling her I was meeting with you. She was very excited.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So this page is just a little bit more about Keller Williams and our company. The other thing that we created is a system, and it's called the KWLS. So because we have such a strong we're such a strong, powerful brand, we've created what's called the Keller Williams Listing Syndicate. What that means is that anytime that I list a property, it doesn't just go out onto Zillow or Realtor.com or the other search portals. What it also does is it syndicates to over 300 websites where home buyers go to buy or sell property. So what I'm able to do by listing within the Keller Williams Listing Syndicate is ensure that any place on the internet that home buyer might be looking for homes for sale, that your house is going to pop up. Can you see how that might give you a good exposure?
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Is that on there? I didn't see that on there.
No, but now you know. Now you know, yeah. In the old, anyway. Okay, so the first thing, so just to explain a little bit, Amanda, about the way that the market is going right now. Most buyers, their first impression of a home is going to be done online virtually, right? Like we know that there's these big search portals like Zillow and Realtor.com. I also have like a website where the listings are posted. Like I said, over 300 websites where buyers are going to go and look for homes for sale. What happens is buyers will, in a general sense, only look at a house once and pretty decisively decide whether or not they're interested in seeing it or not, right? And once they've bypassed the listing, the odds of getting them back become fewer and fewer unless you're doing like price changes or something like that to manipulate the house on the market. And so really when I go through my marketing plan with you, what is of the utmost importance to me is that I make your house, the first impression for your house stands out among any of the others in the competition, okay? And so
Okay.
what that's going to start with is professional photography. So I always have professional
Okay, what's it
photography.
cost me?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So all of these services that I'm going to talk to you about are all included as part of my marketing package that I provide to sellers. So there's no additional cost to you for that.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. So obviously, because your house, the first impression you make for your house is going to be online. I do professional photography, drone photography. During COVID, side note, I would also say I do Matterport tours, I do virtual tours, blah, 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 whatever you're doing there. Okay, so I talked a little bit about that, and we have 2 more minutes, and I want to get through all the information, so I'm going to do a truncated. So I go through the marketing plan, right? And these are pages, I did not create these. These are pages that you just have to go in, read, and then practice yourself how you're going to talk about them. So you might talk about your yard sign. So the other thing that's unique about Keller Williams is they let me customize my yard signs, which means the information that is put out about your house is going to have my information attached to it. So the benefit to you is that anytime a potential buyer calls into the office, sees the sign in the yard, sees one of my the marketing pieces that I do online, I am directed back for the inquiry. That way I can make sure that I'm the one talking to them. I'm going to be the one that's most knowledgeable about your property, and I'm going to be the one that is going to be selling, ultimately selling your house with the all of the information to get them to schedule a showing. So that's another thing that I'm going to be able to do, which is a little bit different than what other brokerages do, where they might decide that they have agents who might pick up the phone there that could have no idea about your listing. Might be actually, when buyers call in to inquire on your house, might ultimately decide to start to pitch their own listings to them instead. We don't have that problem here at Keller Williams, so that's another way that I'm going to get your house marketed and sold quickly. Okay, so then you go through that, right? Then you can go through coming soon campaign, a just listed campaign. I will email this out. I've edited these parts a little bit for my own presentation, but essentially it's all what you would think. A walkthrough and a needs analysis. The next thing we're going to do is professional photography and videography. Like I talked about, my yard signs. I also generally then I say, okay, and I also have an email database of over 3,000 people. Anytime I list a home for sale, they get an email highlighting the best benefits to your house and with a link so that they can ask me questions or share with their friends if they have anybody looking in the market. I also have a social media presence where I can use proprietary software. Our proprietary software system, it's called Command, to get your house in front of home buyers and sellers that are looking on social media. Typically, I run advertising on all of my listings that gets in front of anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 people. So that's another thing that I'll be able to do. Another thing is that I don't just market to local home buyers and sellers. I know that that in this market that there are home buyers coming up from New York City. So in addition to networking with agents in New York City so that I'm getting the referrals, I also strategically place my advertising on social media to target home buyers that might be located in New York City and coming up to the area to search for homes for sale. So can you see with all of this this online marketing that you would that this would place your home in a position to sell quickly and for the highest price possible?
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that you guys do all this stuff. Is this like normal? I didn't realize that.
Well, I can't speak to what any other real estate agent does, but I can speak to what I do, which I know gets homes sold quickly. And so I'll go through you can go through postcards, you can go through all of this stuff, an open house strategy. Usually at the end, I will share this page that I've created that has my past sales on it. So if they say something like that, I would say yes. And as you can see, many of your neighbors have trusted me as well to list their homes for sale. Like I mentioned in our last class, I have different versions of this based on where the house is. That might be something that you have to work up to as if you're a newer agent, but you might have an Ulster County version or a Southern Ulster County version, a Dutchess County version, and so on and so forth. that shows that here. And then I also had, yep, go ahead, Amanda.
And just one thing that somebody said to me, or maybe it was you, when I first started, that if I don't have the testimony or the business to show, our market center does. And so we can use that, you know, our team is our market center. So you can highlight some of the things that our team has done as well until you have your own.
Yeah, use what we call the LORA reports, the language of real estate reports, for the office while you're working on building up your own stats, and that can be a really powerful tool. All right, so I don't want to keep anybody over time, and I'm sorry that this got cut short. We might decide to do like a part 2 where we can get more into some of the objections, because I know I wanted to make sure that as we went along, we were answering questions. But are there any questions I can answer about anything that we went over? Oh, Diana, you're muted.
I have a quick one about the listing presentation. Do you really think that, you know, giving them this printed listing presentation is a valuable tool?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. And you can go into the market center and print it there. I throw it in a black, I have like black Keller Williams folder. I throw that in there. Yeah, I think that it's something. Go ahead, Amanda.
And if you're doing Zoom, because I've done a lot of virtual listing appointments lately, we can do like what Rita's doing and share that information on the screen. And you just have to learn how to use the system in order to be able to do that. But you could then email them the packet first, or stick it in their mailbox, you know, as you're looking at the outside of the house before you meet with them virtually.
Okay.
Good question. Any other questions? All right. Amanda, we'll round back and pick a day to do like a part 2 for this. Does that sound okay?
Good. Yeah.
Okay. And then we'll pick up where we left off and we'll do the rest of the listing presentation then. All right.
Sounds
Thanks,
great.
everybody. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.